welcome back to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. So today we're kind of looking at building a log trailer that will primarily be pulled by the otter. So basically it'll be between 8 and 10 foot long and be about 4 foot wide, between 3 and 4. We have some scrap metal here. We picked it up from the local scrap yard, so you can just go and get scrap metal pretty cheap. So we have some pipe because we want rounded surfaces, and some channel iron, and we're going to work on putting that together. We have some wheels and the hub assembly off of like a truck, so it's the hub, bearing, and all that. So we'll be able to use that for like the wheels. So I think we're going to work on trying to get that put together. The reason we're kind of looking at it is kind of twofold. So one is skidding logs, out of the woods, like at the 100 acres, is works, but you get the thing completely covered in mud, and 9 out of the 12 months we have mud on the ground, so you're just covering the log in mud, and then you bring it over here to the sawmill, and while we have the debarker, you just have all that mud and dirt caked on there. That's not good for it, and you then just have all that to contend with. So by putting it on a trailer, you can get it off the ground. Most time when we take the otter over, we always have the little tractor, so you can load logs with that. Eventually we want to put like a winch system on there so that you can use a winch to get the logs up on the trailer, but that'll be down the road kind of once we have it figured out. So there's that piece, and then the second part is, while we have the 62 with like the grapple and everything, you can get logs through, but a lot of times we don't have paths that are 12 feet wide, or whatever. So then you're looking at either trying to wiggle around those or whatever. So if you can be parallel with the path where you're just pulling it down, then that would be the best thing. So it's something we've kind of been thinking about for a while. We finally have most of the metal for it. We need a couple pieces for the hitch and everything on the front. We'll probably use a pedal hook just because it's the easiest thing to use, and you can get it pretty cheap. So anyway, we'll probably work on that today for a little bit. Finally starting to warm up. We got about 5 inches on Friday, and the high is 40 today. So a lot of this stuff's going to be melting, and the sun's been out the last couple days, so it'll really start to melt. So anyway, we'll probably work on that. So we'll get stuff cut to length, kind of figure out with the metal we have what all we can exactly build, and then after that, kind of get stuff cut, start welding it together. The overall frame should come together pretty quick, and then getting the wheels and everything will be a lot more drilling holes and getting stuff on, so that'll take a little bit longer, but the frame itself should come together pretty quick. So try to do some video and time-lapse of putting that together, and yeah, we'll be working on that today. So material-wise, this is kind of what we're looking at. So overall of the channel, we have about 24 feet of that. So we're going to make the trailer about 10 feet long, and we have about 2 feet to come in that we'll cut and bend for the hitch piece. And then we'll just divvy out, we'll make it 3 foot wide, kind of reconsidered, and we'll go that wide because we don't need as much length. So we'll take whatever pipe we have and space those out. Probably definitely have one front, back, and then a piece or 2 in the middle, depending on what we have. And then we'll just make whatever we can, get as much support. And then we'll probably have to take another piece of channel and put the wheel bearing assembly for the wheels on it underneath, so that it raises it up. Right now the wheels are about 15 inches, and we wanted about 18 inches off the ground, just because that will be level with what the otter is with its hitch. So we'll kind of get the frame put together. He's cutting the piece now so we can carry it up, and we'll get the other piece, the scrap piece from what he's cutting, put on here, because this is only about 7 feet. So we'll put that on and get it welded up so we have our total 12 feet here. And then we'll do one more cut so that we have both 12.5 is what the total will be. So we'll have that. and then we'll be able to bend for our hitch and then get some supports in. Okay, so here we have the two pieces that we need to make the full 12 feet. Have them clamped together with a piece of angle iron on top, just keep them square. First attempt didn't go very well, needed to get a little bit more weld on that, so that's what you saw there. So put a little bit of a tack, then get it clamped again, and then do a full weld across the top here. Once we have that a little bit more stable, get it flipped over and do a little bit of weld on the other side along with the outside of it. Getting it all tacked together here. Just using 6011 for most of this. Didn't clean much of it up to begin with, so the 6011 will burn through that rust and isn't too bad. Here, just doing a pass over on the inside of the channel, and just gives us a little bit more, even though we have a pass on the outside, put a pass on the inside so that whenever you go through the grind, you know, you just have a good solid weld all the way through, even though there was good penetration on the first pass. So you can see the coffee can there. So we always put the ends in a metal coffee can just so that they're not littering the driveway, but then also they're hot, so you want to put them in some metal. Here's just a little bit close up and sped up of doing the weld from the other direction. So one of the important things with welding is to make sure to be comfortable, you know, when possible. So if you can weld in a direction that's a little bit more natural, it's easier to do that to get a better weld. So we go ahead and get this finished welded all the way up, because the next thing we're going to do is cut it to size and then start working on the braces. So we want to get it completely done. So we take it over here and we're going to work on cutting it to size. Move the other one over there just so we can check, and use the cut-off saw to get that cut to the same length so that they're both 12 foot 5 inches. Okay, here we get the abrasive saw out for the pipe. So got it cut. We decided to do 3 feet as I mentioned there, and then we're having to notch the ends so it'll sit flush up against the channel. So the channel kind of bows out a little bit. Obviously, with the curvature of the pipe, didn't want to sit flush, and you'll end up angled. So get those notched, check and make sure that's the correct amount. So we bring everything back over to our flat surface, so when we go to weld these on, we're on something flat. So for the first one, we stand the pipe up and use a couple of the magnets that are squares to keep that straight, and then just do some tacking around so that we have that one in place. And we can tip everything over and
get it attached. Again, using a piece of angle iron across the top to make sure that it's kind of all together. And then later on we end up getting out a clamp so that you can pull everything together as well. So do a few welds on this one just to get it in place. And then once we kind of have a proof of concept that this is going to work, we go through and create the rest of the pipes. So I think we ended up with 6 in total, and then we'll end up making some brace pieces in between. And again, we have to notch all of those, so we just go through, use the cutoff saw. And once we have the first coupon, or the left scrap that we cut out, we're able to use it to mark the rest of them. So now we have them all kind of pseudo in place. We move the clamp and the piece of angle iron around and then just measure. Now we did them about every 2 feet, but we just want to measure so that they're straight. So now we go through each one of them, get one side tacked, measure, and then just start tacking and put some welds around. And here we're just trying to tack it so that it doesn't move, and then I'll go back through later and finish welding all the way around each of those pipes. So we start to get into a rhythm. I weld on this side, then he'll weld the ones on that side so we don't have to keep flipping back and forth. And then we just move on to the next one and get it in place. Here's a little bit closer look of welding inside that channel. So just putting a bead of weld across the top there. And here's kind of what it looks like with the initial. Obviously still needing to do welding, but kind of get an idea of what it's going to kind of look like here. So we got it all welded together well enough to where it's stable. So now we need to work on bending the hitch in, so that's something that it's easier to do with both of us instead of just one person. So kind of start working on that, and then I can go back there and finish welding at a later date. So using a combination of the grinder and the cutoff saw, get our angles cut so we can pull those two ends together and kind of make a V or an A there. And that's where we will use and put the hitch. And here we're using ratchet straps to kind of get everything pulled together. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So we'll have more videos kind of going through and finishing this up. So thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.